Good morning. Before I can start on wildlife photography, how many of you guys have actually been to a park? Of course, I can't see anything. And how many do some sort of photography? Great. So I'm in a way talking to the converted. So let me start how my wildlife journey started as a photographer. I grew up in Africa, in Kenya. My father was a university professor, and I grew up in the national parks of Kenya. When I came back to Sri Lanka, I did my A-levels in Sri Lanka, and my initial reaction was always to look for a piece of jungle or forest that I could run off to. So I started initially as just a person who wanted to be in the jungle, who wanted to immerse myself in the forest and observe animals. Later on, I decided, let me try and photograph what I see. So the advantage of being a wildlife observer or a watcher first and a photographer second is that you already know how animals tend to behave. You have observed them, you know what to expect, and you hope. When I started photography, I started with some fairly basic camera equipment, which usually was my father's hand-me-down. And over the years, as my skill hopefully improved, I got to better equipment. My objective initially was just to take pretty pictures of leopards. Now this picture, as you can see, is taken off an old-fashioned camera with a slide, not even digital media. So initially, it's just all about pretty pictures of leopards. That's it. I wasn't concerned about taking a message to anyone, trying to show people, highlight what we have. It was just pretty pictures for myself. And I sort of specialized in leopards for a long, long time. In the 1990s, thank you, when very few people could even see leopard, we were a group of small people who went after leopards. And in Vilpattu, I have been doing a study of the leopards of Vilpattu since 2010, and have documented over 110 different leopards in Vilpattu. So it's all about just pretty pictures, nothing more than that. Then from leopards, I graduated to tuskers. Now elephants for me per se are boring. They're just big, large rocks that tend to move and can also do some serious damage to you. I have a dent in my vehicle door which has been fixed, proves that they can do some serious damage to you. Why tuskers? Maybe about an estimated 3% of the males in Sri Lanka carry tusks. And seeing big tuskers, the big boys as we call them, is getting harder and harder to see. Because all of them are dying, they're getting old, they're in their 50s to 60s, and they're dying. And the younger tuskers are just not making it. They're falling victims to the human-elephant conflict, falling into wells, getting electrocuted, getting shot. So I went after tuskers. This particular guy, 15 years before I saw him, some of you may have already seen him. Strangely, he's still very much alive. This photograph is over 10 years old. He's got bigger and his tusks have got better. From pretty pictures, hold on, I'm low tech, so I need notes. I moved on to the biodiversity of Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, I don't have as many pictures of frogs and butterflies in my hard drive in a rush to do this presentation. But we've graduated to the diversity of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is considered a biodiversity hotspot. And you don't need big lenses, expensive lenses to photograph the biodiversity, especially when it comes to the flowers, the frogs, the snakes, the butterflies. There's so much diversity in Sri Lanka. I call sloth bears the spirit animal of the Sri Lankan dry zone forest. Why is it the spirit animal? They only thrive in undisturbed dry zone forests. And they are some of the first big mammals to disappear from the landscape when the forests are disturbed. That is why in the late 80s and early 90s, there was still bear in Udawalawe. But there's no more bear in Udawalawe. Now, they're restricted to 3 or 4 of our national parks and maybe some of the undisturbed forests of the north. Bears are getting more and more difficult to see. The diversity. Now, this is a purple-faced leaf monkey. It's endemic to Sri Lanka. Some of you guys might have this in your home gardens once in a while. But the one that we have in the Western Province is one of the most threatened primates in the world because there is no forest left for them. They're living among us. From diversity, I wanted to also depict the environment of these animals. The thing is this, with modern camera equipment and the way the leopards have got habituated, anyone can take a picture of a leopard. Anyone. I mean, the quality of images that are coming up, the young crop of photographers, is brilliant. Anybody can take a good photograph of a leopard. But depicting the environment, the nature of its existence, the shyness, usually, I've been tracking this leopard for over 5 years. I know of his existence. I've seen him twice, and this is the best I've been able to take. So this is trying to depict the environment. This is called a clamorous reed warbler, and it's in a bed of reeds. I have a lot of very famous, award-winning photographers who will not photograph anything like this because they're not colorful enough. As the word goes, little brown blobs. So nobody photographs little brown blobs. But they're as important as the leopard, as the elephant, as the bear to our environment. Then depicting the environment again. So from that, you graduate to try and create what I would like to think as art. Of course, action photography, if the opportunity avails itself. But you have to be ready. You have to know your equipment. You need to know how to take a photograph without disturbing the animals. Now, in this photograph, the eagle had actually killed a peacock, and is behind it. And the monitor lizard was fighting the hawk eagle for the peacock. The funny thing is, hawk eagles kill and eat monitor lizards of this size. So it's one brave, gutsy monitor lizard to fight, and it won, by the way. So you try to create art. Photography is just not running around in a vehicle, hoping for a leopard to cross the road. You have to work at some of your images. I decided not to do a park round in the evening, and I've got my technique right for over a day onto this branch until the light was perfect for what I thought was the image I wanted to create. Another example is that your safari is never over because you've come home or you're back at your hotel, your bungalow, wherever you're staying. This is after we got down from the vehicle. By the way, I have zero Photoshop skills. So these are natural colors with minimal editing. So art, these are just fungus or mushrooms. Look for a different perspective. The important thing is to have the shot in your head and work on it. Now this particular photograph, I had seen a famous international photographer had taken a similar shot. So over the years, you look for a location where this can be repeated, where you can do this shot. That is a reflection of the setting sun. So finally, where does all this wildlife photography go? It means nothing if it's just in your hard drive. You put it on Facebook, you put it on Instagram, you're happy with the likes, your friends comment on it, and you're done. It means nothing. What have you contributed back to nature in terms of photography? So as I matured as a wildlife photographer, I realized that there's less and less of what I used to photograph going around. So you'd start thinking, I need to do something to conserve this. In my early years, I worked in a reasonably stressful job. There was no 9 to 5. Basically, your mind had to work right through the day. You're looking at international markets, and you are stressed out, right? There's no weekend, weekday. You're always checking up. So this was my stress release. When I'm in a park and I'm pointing the lens at something, everything is forgotten. All the headaches, the stress is gone out of the window, and all my mind works is on my photograph. So the conservation part comes in. I need to save this. I need to make sure there's something for me to continue to enjoy in a selfish point of view, or as a nation, for the country to enjoy. And if you look at globally, you cannot do without. Why? Nature, environment can do without us, but we can't do without environment. This particular tusker is outside a national park. I had developed a relationship with him over 5-6 years, going and watching him. And it was very depressing last year when he was killed by an illegal electric fence. These are the last generation of big tuskers in Sri Lanka. Again, if you can, I don't think you can see this. This is where we have infringed on elephant territory, the encroachment, and we are affecting the wildlife. This elephant has a bad wound on his trunk. It's half cut. It's just dangling by a little bit because of a snare. Now, if ever you go to one of these areas like Anuradhapura, and you eat deer meat, or you go to places like Muskeli upcountry and you eat wild boar meat, a lot of other animals get caught to this. Now, if you remember, during COVID, one of Sri Lanka's only black leopards got caught to a snare and died. Recently, another leopard got caught to a snare. Those snares are not set for leopard. They're set for wild boar. So that's part of this link. When you start interfering with the natural prey system, leopards also get killed. Why are leopards coming into human areas? Because we have eaten all their food. They have nothing else to eat. It's not that the leopard population has suddenly gone up. They've had no choice but to become visible to feed themselves. Elephants are dying every day. It's not that the elephant population has gone up. It's just that it's reported more because everybody has a mobile phone and everybody is now a journalist or a reporter because we have our phones, we can video it. Elephants have been dying for a long time, but it's increasing now because we are now in their territories. This elephant and the previous elephant, when I first saw them, there was no villages for 10, 15 kilometers. Now, they live completely surrounded by villages. Yes, human beings, we need space as well. But it has to be sustainable. When we go and set up a village in the middle of an elephant corridor, that creates a problem. We have to look at science, figure out where the elephant corridor is, and move the village somewhere else, which we don't seem to want to listen to. So where do the complications come in? We start feeding animals. We think we're doing great merit. These elephants are starving. These monkeys are starving. Let's give them some food. If you look at the Buttala Road, there's a bunch of highway robbers, which I call highway robbers. They sit on the road and they demand to be fed until they let you go. They're smart enough to stop the three-wheeler drivers, the Tata Battas, and the buses. They don't stop double cabs and pickups because those guys don't stop for them. I drive past them as if they don't exist. But you go in your smaller car and they will stop you. So when you create a problem with now there's an electric fence here and people are throwing bread to the elephants at Udawalwe. That electric fence only has current from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Somewhere down the line, he's going to touch the electric wire in the daytime and he's going to realize there's no current. And then he's going to come through. And when he comes through, who's going to suffer? The villagers. You have fed and you have gone off on your trip somewhere else. And it's all fun and games. Look at the guy smiling. Well, the so-called gypsies of Sri Lanka are a dying race. But there's still a lot of people who keep wild animals in captivity. And then what do? We go and release them back into the wild when they become too big. I personally keep aquarium fish. When some of these fish become too big, what do people do? We release them into the environment. And then they become a huge invasive species because the local population of fish do not know how to compete with this much bigger fish because it never existed in the ecosystem. So now, if you go to any of our canals, they're full of what we call cleaner fish or glass cleaner, algae eaters. Massive specimens, all introduced by who? Us. So as we encroach into the elephants, elephants have nowhere to go but come into our fields. A few minutes after taking this picture, he destroyed this hut. This is a famous elephant. He's been in the news recently because he was shot a number of times. And this is just off Anuradhapura. Some of you may know the elephant. His name is Agbo. He's a very big elephant. Again, last of the generation of big tuskers in Sri Lanka. He's supposed to be fatally injured. It's a matter of time before he dies. And this particular patch of forest, about 15 years ago, I visited it. It was pure wilderness. Now, this is a 25-acre cornfield. So when we encroach, the animals were always there. It's not that the animals came into the human environment. They were always there. We are in no position to complain that we are getting overrun by monkeys, overrun by snakes, overrun by elephants when we are in their home. As you can see, buildings are continuously coming up, and these animals have got nowhere to go. So what do? They learn to adapt. They eat what we grow. Elephants do it, monkeys do it, and then we complicate matters by being careless with our garbage. We don't sort our garbage. I don't have any pictures of elephants eating garbage, but it's a huge problem. Elephants are dying because they are swallowing polythene. It's not digested, it blocks their passage, and then they slowly starve to death. We claim that we are a good Buddhist country. Most of us have spent time either in Sunday school, in a church, we've gone to the mosque for our classes, religious classes, and we've gone to the temple for Sunday school. Yet, we do horrendous things to our wildlife, like the hakkapatas, the jaw bombs. It's an invention created in Sri Lanka. Blows off the jaw of an animal, and it slowly starves to death because he can't eat or drink water. So why this last series of pictures? They say a picture says 1,000 words. Wildlife photography is very, very important to create awareness. Awareness of what we have, what we are about to lose, what we are destroying as we watch, and how we can change.